Professor, at first I want to apologize for um, the format of this interview. I last minute couldn't get the webcam to sync up with Perfect Interview. Um, all week when I was doing practice runs on it, it was working fine. So I'm going to make an attempt at doing it this way. What I did was I went through the Perfect Interview setup and essentially just recorded the questions on my phone. I'm going to play them during this and then respond. I apologize for if it's a, kind of broken flow to the thing. I'm going to try my best to keep it as fluid as possible. And here we go. Okay, the first question here, I'm going to go ahead and play it.
What was the toughest challenge you ever faced, and how did you handle it?
In case you didn't hear that, that was what was the toughest challenge you ever faced and how did you handle it? Just recently at a job that I had about a year ago, the company went through a series of downsizing. They decided to eliminate the entire internal sales department. They have a larger department overseas, and they decided that it was more efficient to, eliminate the home-based one. So what they did was they relocated several long tenure employees, including myself, to an entirely different department. This proved challenging because I hadn't seen a lot of the material since training. A lot of what I was doing at this point in time with my new position was a lot of what I learned, several years ago, but hadn't had it in practice. Uh, you know, had grown unfamiliar with it. At this point in time, I approached my manager, my direct manager, and asked for some resources to brush up on my skills. He pointed me in the direction of some training material found online. I went through the course, and inevitably, it helped me perform my position to the skills and abilities that they expected from me. The second question.
Tell me about a time when you feel you disappointed yourself or your boss.
In case you didn't hear that, that was tell me about a time where you feel you disappointed yourself or your boss. Um, let's see. There was a time I was in charge of organizing a luncheon for Simplexity. It's actually the previous job I was just speaking of. My manager, direct manager, put me in charge of the luncheon. Not a big task, just some organizing and whatnot. He did want some music for entertainment purposes. Well, I delegated this task to a coworker, as I delegated several other tasks such as decoration, food and beverages and so on. Well, the person I delegated the music to, I never really specified, what genre of music. I did say easy listening type classical. So, in that respect, I did specify. However, come the day of the luncheon, the band was a little bit more contemporary, a little more modern than my manager had liked, and a good 20 minutes into the luncheon, he came up to me and asked if we could have the band stop playing. This came as a somewhat of an embarrassment to me. I felt disappointed in myself because I did delegate a task that I was charged with, um, and I didn't make sure that the person I was delegating it to was was on the same page or had the same ideas that I had going into it. I did learn that when delegating tasks, it's very important, to make sure that you're on the same page um, with the person you're delegating to, and just to make sure that everybody's working together and there's more of a fluid approach rather than the disjointed one that I found during that event. But like I said, I take it as a lesson, and I'm going to be more careful when I delegate tasks. The third question.
Can you give me an example of how you had to change your style in order to work more effectively with the other people on your team?
All right. And to repeat that, Give me an example. She said, give me an example of when you had to change your style to be more compatible with other members on your team. Let's see. A specific example that comes to mind would be, let's see, probably one of my first positions. I had to work with a team. We were organizing some volunteer events at the office, and the team had a designated leader. I always like to hit the ground running, and I kind of jumped in, took it upon myself to organize, and again begin delegating a little bit. And I noticed that this was creating a little a little conflict with the group leader or the group organizer. It was at this point in time that I did realize that it's more important for me to perform my role so that the team as a whole can be successful, rather than me trying to take it upon myself to ensure the success of the team. And I think that's a great lesson. Sometimes it's more important to just perform your tasks to the fullest of your ability, because it is part of the whole. And by everybody performing their part, the whole is possible. Question 4.
Could you give me an example where you feel your leadership qualities really made the difference in a previous position?
Just in case you didn't hear that, she said, can you give me an example of when your leadership qualities um, helped out in a previous position? Recently, I was a hourly manager for Outback Steakhouse, and we had a lot of problem with inconsistency among management. I worked very closely with the other hourly employees, servers and bartenders and whatnot, and I heard a lot. I got a lot of feedback, and there was a large communication gap between them and upper management. I took it upon myself to speak on some of the issues that I had heard over the past months at a meeting that we had. Post meeting, I realized that it had kind of garnered some respect, pardon me, from a lot of my fellow employees. So when I was in a hourly management role, I saw a lot of increase in production. I saw a lot of them wanting to help out, wanting to make my shift easier. Um, and I believe that in a leadership role, it's as important to lead by example as it is to empathize and allow your employees or your coworkers to see you on a level that they can see themselves, to be relatable. And that was probably the most important lesson that came from that, just to be relatable to them. And it served as an example to upper management as well. They saw the a decrease in issues on my shifts, and I spoke a few more times at following meetings, and I think it had a really positive outcome. And the final question, question 5.
Tell me about a project that you've managed to complete successfully, even though you encountered a number of serious roadblocks along the way.
Pardon me. In case you didn't hear that, that was, tell me about a project that you completed successfully, even though you've encountered some roadblocks along the way. This wasn't a paid position, but I did help lead well, off and on church youth group. We had we had set up a luncheon at the church, not, oh, well, not, more of a dinner after church, and we were in charge of organizing activities, the food, entertainment, for the adults, children of all ages. So we had a staff of 4 between us to delegate the tasks. Um, the venue, at the last minute, the venue was unavailable. We were maybe an hour and a half out from start time, and we had to change the venue completely. I immediately called a friend, wanted her to go over and see if the nearby park was available. She went over there, held the spot. I sent out a quick email to the pastor, to a few other of the deacons, called a few people, and before we knew it, everybody was showing up there. That worked out fine. As the event started to go on, the food was supposed to be delivered at 7 p.m. 6:30 came, and I got a call from the catering company, that they were unable to make it till 8:30. Well, the event was supposed to end by 8:30. So at that time, I appreciated their business and whatnot. I thanked them and you know, thankfully declined, and got on the phone with Papa John's and ordered 10 large pizzas, and solution solved. Pulled it off without much seams. A lot of the people, a lot of the guests that we had there didn't realize that anything had changed at all. They didn't know that the venue wasn't available, or the food had changed. It was that seamless. So that was an excellent lesson in bending and just going with the flow and being able to roll with the punches, or so to speak. It taught me to think on my feet and to realize there's always other options. It's never too late. There's always things that can be done. Um, I think that's it. Um, Professor, again, I hope this was as fluid as I could possibly make it for you. Again, I apologize about the last minute webcam issues. I'm going to go ahead and email this link. I believe I have to upload it to YouTube first, and then I'll send you the YouTube link. If you have any questions, just send me an email. Um, Otherwise, I shall see you in class. Thank you. Bye.